This fits perfectly for the 49ers offense. And you have a productive veteran wide receiver for an offense that really, a lot of it's entering the final stages of their career. And obviously they need work because it's just not a lot there, but I think Mike Evans addresses a major, major need for him.
Yeah, we're good. We're good, man. What's your initial reaction to Mike Evans?
That is I always thought the 49ers, they like to, hang their hat on at least one big signing every offseason. And, last year's free agency, Luke Farrell was not the guy, even though Mac Jones turned out to be a pretty good signing. But they spent their money on Brock and extending Fred and Kittle. So they could say that. And then in years past, they might have like one or two free agents. Or you go, oh, okay, I may have heard of him. Mike Evans, he brings name recognition. He is I don't like to say a future Hall of Famer because a lot goes into it, but with his credentials of 11 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons to start his career and Bucs all-time leader receiver, this guy, this fits perfectly for the 49ers offense. And you have a productive veteran wide receiver for an offense that it's really, a lot of it's entering the final stages of their career and wants one last gasp at a Super Bowl run. And Mike Evans fits that just as well as Trent Williams, as Christian McCaffrey, as George Kittle, as Kyle Juszczyk. Obviously, Brock's going to be around for a while longer, but now he has a legitimate playmaking, touchdown-scoring wide receiver in his grasp.
And if you look at where they are now in the wide receiver room, what would you anticipate they still are looking to go out there and do? They have a couple of young guys. You got Demarcus Robinson still. I don't think Jawan Jennings will be around, but is this going to be it, you think, Cam, until the draft for that room?
It depends if there's like a really unheralded speedster out there, because I think they could still use that. Because, Jordan Walkins is pretty darn fast, but he couldn't get on the field last season in a season where they really needed receivers desperately. So I think there's going to be guys in the draft that can fulfill that requirement because that's what the offense needs. But Mike Evans can come in, play split end. Ricky Pearsall can go over to flanker. You get a smaller guy in the slot. They may say it's going to be Cowling or whoever else they can find. And obviously they need work because it's just not a lot there. But I think Mike Evans addresses a major, major need for him.
Cam, oh man, there's so many positional questions I've got. What are they doing at running back, you think, my goodness, give Christian McCaffrey a break and a running mate?
Well, he doesn't want to take a break.
Yeah, but he's going to have to take a break. Too bad. You have to, Christian.
Hey, if you didn't figure that out last year, he doesn't want to come off the field ever, and they don't seem very willing to pull him off the field. So if he's healthy, he's staying on that field, no matter how much everybody's clamoring to see Brian Robinson or Jordan James or Isaac Guerrero. I would imagine that you got McCaffrey obviously coming back, and he's healthy. He's feeling spry, feeling like he's going to have to prove everybody wrong that he can excel as a 30-year-old running back because he's still at the top of his game. It's not a desperate position. Behind him, it's like, okay, Jordan James, he got in at the end of the year, but we really didn't see anything he did all season long other than the Niners saw him in practice. We know that they can plug in guys at running back. They identify the players that can fit well in their scheme, and off they go. I don't think it's a major positional concern. What's your next one?
Tight end would be mine. George Kittle coming off a severe injury. We don't know how quickly he can come back, and having a good receiving and blocking tight end is so critical. Anybody still out there, Cam, that might be appetizing?
You bring up a great point, Mr. Dibley, because I think tight end is a major concern also. I know George is obviously striving to get back as quick as he can. But he's coming off of an Achilles tear, and that is just something that you just don't all of a sudden rush back from. Aaron Rodgers tried to do it right. Jason Tatum just came off it for the Celtics, and he was out 10 months, and everybody's like, wow, what a remarkably fast comeback for him. Well, if Kittle comes back in 10 months, you're looking at a November return. Okay, so they have to go in expecting him not to be available at least the first 4 games, that he would start on the PUP list. So, Jake Tonjes is a restricted free agent. I would imagine they're going to have to give him a respectable tender, because I think he showed enough last season that He's a legitimate pass catcher at tight end, and he knows the system's been here for a couple of years. Is there anybody else out there? Purdy's old tight end at Iowa State was an interesting one. Is Charlie Kohler, is that his name, right? He signed with the Chargers, so he's off the market. You're not going to see Taylor Swift coming to Levi's Stadium because Travis Kelce returned with the Chiefs. And honestly, there was probably about 5 tight ends that hooked up deals in the first few hours. So obviously the Niners weren't thinking that it's a major priority for them. But getting Mike Evans obviously alleviates some of the stress of finding somebody to throw the ball to other than Christian McCaffrey, because, I mean, as great as McCaffrey is, they were asking way too much of him last season to become their number one their number one receiver and their number one running back. Obviously he did it, but they needed help. And with Kittle going to be down, recovering from his Achilles, maybe they just don't think it's as big of a need because there's other positions that need to be addressed.
Next question is about pass rush. We know they want to address it. How do they do it? And is Trey Hendrickson on their radar?
Well, Trey Hendrickson's still on the market, so I don't know why he wouldn't be on the radar. It does give you concern. I mean, Trey Henderson was a pretty good pass rusher with the Saints. And then he went to Cincinnati for the last 5 years, purgatory almost. But he was obviously a dominant pass rusher, defensive end. Niners faced him a couple times, so they know. And then he underwent core muscle surgery, which I don't think would scare them off because, Nick Bosa underwent that, and he came back fine going into his rookie year. So maybe the medical concern is there, scaring away some teams. I'm sure his price tag's scaring away some teams. And maybe that includes the Niners because they've already spent, kind of splurged on an item here with Mike Evans. And I just don't think that they're in the business of giving out $30 million contracts to guys that are over 30 years old, unless it's Trent Williams, who's kind of hovering around that line right now, and he wants to have more guaranteed money, understandably so. But they're not also poor. They have a lot of salary cap space. Mike Evans took up some of it, but you also are off the hook of having to pay Brandon Aiyuk that $30 million a year with him getting off the roster. So
you're off the hook, but isn't there some cap hit that's going to have to take effect once they officially do designate him as a post-June 1st release?
Yeah, the cap is it's all a mirage. Don't worry about the cap. They have cap space. They have money to burn, but they're spending it wisely. The Tennessee Titans unloaded a ton of money today because they have a new coach, they have a young quarterback, and they need to surround him with a better talented cast. And so they were huge shoppers in free agency today, just spending a lot of money. The days of the Niners kind of spending recklessly, those expired about 15 years ago, maybe 10, because I just don't see Shanahan and Lynch just going, hey, we need to get people in here. Let's spend some ludicrous amount of money. They put a lot of thought into where they're going to spend it. That's why they don't just, let it go to whatever. They use their dollars right now to bring in a big name in Mike Evans. If Trey Hendrickson is wanting to come and be part of a defensive line rotation, great. I think the Niners, they obviously have a lot of money invested in their 4 defensive ends and Nick Bosa, Mykel Williams, Bryce Huff, and Keanu White. But, most of those guys are coming off serious injuries outside of Huff, who's coming off a 10-game sackless drought. So they're going to have to bank that those guys get up to speed and actually produce this season.
Cam, we've probably buried one of the leads. You mentioned his name already. What is going to happen with Trent Williams?
I don't think I've met or seen a savvier businessman in the NFL. I've been covering for 25 years, savvier than Trent Williams, who understands his leverage, understands how the business works. And when he signed his contract 2 years ago, it was a 3-year deal, right? So he knew going into this year he'd have to rework his deal because players of his stature just don't play out a deal with no guaranteed money. So, and the Niners surely understand that too. And right now they're jostling in terms of contract talks. And the Niners are willing to trade him. They're willing to trade anybody. They've always said that. It's just what is he going to fetch? Can Trent Williams get you 2 first-round draft picks? Would that make you part with him rather than pay him another year of $30-something million? That's something that they'd have to decide. I don't expect him to leave. Obviously, they're not going to outright release him. That would be foolish because they can get something for him. Is somebody going to be willing to trade away 2 first-round picks for him? Well, look at the Raiders just gave a center an $81 million contract that's essentially fully guaranteed for 3 years. That's a stupendous amount of money. And I don't think the Niners would, give Trent Williams a 3-year, $80 million guaranteed contract. But heck, if I'm him, I'm asking for 3 years, $100 million guaranteed, because he plays a much more premier position where the Niners don't have a ready-made backup to go in and replace him.
Would the 49ers have any interest in a man called Dre Greenlaw, Cam?
Ooh. Here's why I think they do. Because they made such a second effort at him last offseason. And they were on the record saying that they tried to go after him again before he, had committed to Denver. I didn't have a problem with them not re-signing him because he was a red flag injury risk. But the fact that they tried and were open about it last offseason, that tells me that they are interested. Again, though, he sustained a quadriceps injury in the offseason, and that impacted him going into the regular season, or they can say it was a related one or a non-related one. But he was hurt. He missed 9 regular season games for the Broncos, and so they're going to release him if they haven't done so already. Well, a year after signing him to a 3-year, $31 million deal. I think the Niners like Dre Greenlaw. They like the edge he plays with. I think the whole team kind of misses that bully effect, and you're not going to have Juwan Jennings irritating opponents anymore. I think Fred Warner really enjoyed playing next to Dre Greenlaw. They could trust each other. They knew where each other was going to be. I didn't see that chemistry with D. Winters the last year and a half, I guess. Not that D's not a great player. I think that there is a better tandem there with Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw than there is with Fred Warner and D. Winters.